Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unit 3, our lesson on Chinese culture. In this lesson, we'll appreciate Chinese culture. We'll learn the changes of Chinese traditional clothing, how it changed from thousands of years back, from ancient clothing, and it went through changes through different dynasties and compared to the clothing that we're wearing now. Again, there are certain reminders before we begin the lesson. I want all students to have the student handbook ready this time. Keep your GS handbook. If you don't have, you can have your notebook ready. And textbook, workbook is optional, as again, many students may not have it with them. But if you have them, it's excellent. You can refer to those pages. Have your stationery pencil eraser ready with you, and again maintain a good distance from your PC and use headphones if you cannot hear clearly. Okay, so I give you 1 minute to get everything with you besides you so that we can have the lesson running smoothly. Let's talk about the schedule of the day. Today's lesson will have new sharing. As those numbers who had to do the sharing, they've not given me the file. We'll look at the videos submitted by students who did the Landform project, and I've attached a couple of videos. Please go back in your Google Classroom and watch those videos as part of new sharing. Then we have base. The teacher will introduce what we are doing today. Then we'll look at Chinese fashion video, followed by different Chinese clothing style, how the Chinese dressed in different eras, and we'll talk about Yan and Yellow emperors. Lastly, we have homework. In different historical times, Chinese people dressed in different styles. Our ancestors already knew how to make clothes. This put an end to the days when leaves and animal skins were used to cover the bodies. With the integration of cultures of different nations, clothing at different times had special features for different purposes. Click on the link below to watch Chinese fashion through different dynasties. Let's look at Chinese clothing, some of the characteristic features of Chinese clothing in Tang Dynasty, which was about 1000 years ago. Look at the picture in front of you. Beautiful clothing. Look at the men on your left hand side. Now men most often wore round collared robe and belt over this. Now the color of the robe and any decoration was determined by the individual's rank. That means if he was like a higher in rank, he would wear more luxurious garments such as silk or some other garment which is very expensive, and he'll have a more expensive belt on it, whereas a common people could only wear white linen or hemp robes which are cheaper, and the length, it didn't go past their thighs. The women in Tang Dynasty often wore long-sleeve shirts with narrowing cuffs, and they wore layered of clothing. As you can see in the picture, there's a long dress, on there is a large-sleeved cape, and there is also a shawl, and it's called multi-layered clothing because Tang Dynasty was a very rich period in Chinese history. It was very powerful, and the women of Tang dynasty, regardless of class, whether they were higher class or lower class, they put more thoughts into dressing themselves. Often wrapped them around their neck and shoulders, a cape, exposing a certain amount of skin, but not too much. Aside from dress, women in Tang Dynasty, they also worked hard on doing their makeup and their hairstyle. As you can see in the picture, the hairstyles like quite complicated for us if you have to do it now. But women in those days, they would at least follow the following steps. That is, they apply a powder to keep the skin pale and fair. They apply blusher and they draw eyebrows. They also apply a flower pattern in between the brows. You can see in the picture there is something drawn between the two eyebrows, and they draw two dots on either side of the mouth. They also apply lipstick. Now, women in that dynasty, Tang Dynasty, preferred brightly colored dresses, like as surprisingly as it may seem, because the trend was to keep the face. The clothing of the Qing dynasty, it originated from the traditional Manchurian clothing. The shape of the sleeves underwent a substantial change. If you remember the earlier picture that we looked, the sleeves were very wide, but if you look at the picture here, the sleeves are quite narrow. It is, from long and wide, it was replaced by narrow sleeves. For the female, under the long skirt was a pair of high-heeled clogs with some embroidery on them. There was usually a scarf called jingguo wrapped on the arm of a noble woman, while ordinary or poor women had no decoration on their arms. Men usually wore a long gown with mandarin jacket and a cap. In different historical times, Chinese people dressed in different styles. We saw how ancient Chinese they dressed in Tang Dynasty, that was 1,000 years ago, Qing Dynasty, that was 100 to 300 years ago, and now this is 80 years ago. Now, look at their costumes. For example, Xi Pao showed the costume that the woman is wearing. It shows some elements of Western style clothing, but it also preserves the characteristics of costumes from the Qing dynasty. And for the male clothing, if you see, he's wearing long pants, which are normal, like how we wear today. But if you see his upper body clothing, he's wearing Chinese tunic suit, which is very similar and has elements of Chinese styles incorporated into it. The lady's hairstyle is very Western. There's no elaborate hair dressing or anything. She's wearing a very normal makeup, normal shoes. So here in this picture, we can see the influence of Western clothing. Look at these three pictures. What are the characteristics of Chinese style clothing at different times? One picture on your left is 1,000 years ago. The one at the bottom is 80 years ago, and the one on your right is 100 to 300 years ago. Now, if I ask you, what are the similarities and differences between the clothing of the Tang Dynasty, the Qing Dynasty, and the one that's just 80 years ago? As you can see on the picture on your left, the Tang Dynasty, what the lady is wearing, it's a very elaborate style dressing. It's got different layers to one clothing. It's got the long sleeve, it's got the long dress, on that it's got cape with long sleeves, and she's got a shawl going around her. I'm sure you need a lot of help when you have to wear such kind of elaborate clothing. And you can also see that some part of her neck and her body, it's a little bit you can see, but not too much skin is revealed. Whereas if you look at the picture of the Qing dynasty on your right, you can see it's much more simpler when compared to the Tang dynasty. I think we can manage that kind of clothing if we have to wear, right? She's got a long dress and the sleeves are long and narrow, and you can function with those sleeves. Like these are functional if you have to do some work as compared to those long flowy sleeves. Well, I doubt if you can do much work with those kind of sleeves. But here if you see the Qing dynasty, simple, workable and very practical clothing. Again, it's very beautiful, and the hairstyles still elaborate though. But if you look at the picture that's 80 years ago, we can still see many people like dress up in these kind of costumes. We can still see people from that generation, or sometimes even if people have to dress up in their Chinese costumes, people would prefer to dress up like what the third picture at the bottom they're wearing, because it's easier, available, and we can function in these costumes as compared to the pictures on the above. Now I want you to think about it and ask questions. Now, what are the similarities and differences between the clothing of the Tang and the Qing dynasties and ours today? Right? If we have to wear the clothing of the Tang or the Qing dynasty every day and go to school, imagine what would happen. How would you feel? How much time you need? Take yourself back to those times and just think about it. Be in that place and imagine you wearing such multi-layered clothing and having that hairstyle and the makeup and then go to school. How much time would it take? Now, I also want you to think, compare yourself, the picture you have now of you, how you dress up now when you're 10-year-old. If you have a picture of your dad when he was 10 years old, get a picture, make a timeline, and compare how your dad used to dress up when he was 10 years old. Is there any difference between you and him? And if you have a picture of your grandpa or grandma when she was 10 years old, or, even little younger or older, compare three pictures and see how you have been dressing up. Are you still dressing the same way as your grandma used to dress up? Or has the dressing been changed? Or would you like to dress the way your grandma used to get dressed because you think it's beautiful, it's cultural? Think about it. Think about it. Write it in your GS handbook. Draw pictures, paste pictures, make a timeline, and you can share it with us and get 10 stickers for your sharing. The Chinese believed that the Chinese civilization originated from the era of the Yan and the Yellow emperors. Therefore, Chinese people often call themselves descendants of the Yan and Yellow emperors. Look at the two pictures. The one on your left is Yan Emperor, or he's also known as Shennong or Flame Emperor, and the one on your right is the Yellow Emperor or Huangdi. Both the Yan and Huangdi or the Yellow Emperor are considered to be the ancestors of the Chinese people. There's a story behind this. The legend has it that they are part of the Yanghuang tribe. In the past, these two were enemies. They fought each other in the Battle of Bacquan, and eventually the Huangdi tribe, they defeated the Yan, and these two people gradually assimilated each other's culture, and they became known as Huaxi people. That means now they are the Han Chinese, and which is the majority Chinese today. And Huangdi is known as the founder of Chinese civilization. Now you look at the picture of the Yan Emperor on the left, you see he's eating something, right? Okay, because he it's shown here that he always eats herbs because he want to find the quality of the herb because he want to cure people of diseases. And he's also have said to be the first one to introduce farming to Chinese civilization. China's cooking styles and dietary preferences can be divided into many geographical areas, and each area has a distinct style of cooking. Now, we have to recap the lessons we did in Unit 1 and Unit 2, and we looked at the geographical location of China, how different parts of China have different landforms and why, and because of the climate, right? The northern part of China or the northwestern, if you see, it's very mountainous region, whereas the eastern and the southern part is like it's got the three major rivers and it's near to the coastal region and it has a different landform and different climate condition. If you look at the picture here, now the one on your left is the food that's cultivated in south and what is available for you to eat in the south, and the one on the right is the north. Now, people in the north and south, they had different eating habits. Why? Because number one, it depends mainly on what is available for you to eat in that region. So in south, where the climate is warmer and it's more humid, okay, there is a lot of water for you to grow rice, fruits and vegetables. Irrigation, farming, growing fruits and vegetables, you require a lot of water, and this is near the plain, the river delta area, and they have a lot of water and they can cultivate rice, which was the staple food, and also many different kinds of vegetables. Now we see a fish on the plate, that means they are near to the sea or the ocean, and a lot of seafood available for them to eat as well. Whereas people in the north, where the climate is very cold and dry, there are certain limitations for what you can grow and what is available for you to eat. Now, you see mutton as the main meat, that means livestock farming was done in that region, and people relied heavily on mutton meat as the main source of protein, and wheat also was their staple food. North China food was very little salty, it was very simple, it has less vegetables, and wheat was the staple food. As you can see from both the pictures, these are like Chinese people. One group is coming from the south and one group is coming from north, but they have strikingly different food preferences. That is because our food eating habits are mainly affected from where we come, right? Certain regions, the climate conditions, what is available to us makes a lot of difference to what we eat and why we eat the way we eat. The homework for today will be, you need to finish Unit 3 glossary. You need to do it in your GS handbook. Remember to write today's date, your name, the title, and if you can print out the worksheet and upload it, it's good. If you don't have a printer, write it in your GS handbook, take a picture, upload the homework. Number 2, you need to design CMS uniform in ancient Chinese style. Mrs. Desai has a Google Doc attached. Again, you need to do it in your GS handbook. You can even do it as a poster. I want you to color the picture. Let's see the person. Let's keep it as a competition. Whoever wins gets 25 stickers. You have to do it very creatively. It has to have all the Chinese ancient style elements to it and with labeling details. And if you make a video presentation, give you 5 more stickers. Now number 3, there's one research. It's optional. However, I would like all students to research, to do a research on the Yan Emperor and the Yellow Emperor. And last, it's news sharing. Again, outstanding work by students. Mrs. Desai has posted some videos. Please, once you watch these videos, give a positive comment to your friends. They have done a lot of hard work and they have made this video, so appreciate them. Write your comments, give them your feedback, and kind of encourage them. Thank you. Good work by students. This is from Au Young Poi. Beautiful piece of work. This is the travel brochure that she did it in our last lesson. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your work. And here again on different landforms. This is by Matthew Pang, 4B class. You can see he's taken a mountain landform and different beautiful pictures, handwritten notes. Well done, Matthew. You get 5 stickers for your efforts. Thank you.